Did Bill Hicks leave a cigarette lit? How will we know when the rapture has arrived? How dynamic is your dynamic RAM? For May 1st, 2015, from the stylish high-tech underground studios of Ribbit Media in still full of car-eating potholes, Cranston, Rhode Island, this is NewsUndies. For May 1st, 2015, this is NewsUndies, all the news that shouldn't be news. I'm Paul Torville with these headlines. Ars Technica reports on a recently discovered vulnerability that your computer very well may have. The good news is that it's fairly easy to fix in most computers. The bad news is that you can't fix it with a software patch. The problem arises from the way some dynamic RAM chips are manufactured, and it allows an attacker to change the value of 1 bit in physical memory that the attacker does not have access to by repeatedly and very rapidly twiddling the 2 physically adjacent bits that he or she does have access to. This is a little like having a stalwart liberal and George W. Bush comes along and plants John Boehner and Paul Ryan on either side of her, and he instructs them to just keep saying, taxing job creators is bad, over and over and over again as fast as they can, for a week. To be fair, most security analysts who have looked at this call it a problem that requires an esoteric attack to do anything useful. And since it requires physical replacement of hardware, this isn't something that you should expect to get resolved anytime soon. Far-right conspiracy nut scenery chewer Alex Jones commemorated the recent 20th anniversary of the Oklahoma City bombing, the one perpetrated by Terry Nichols and Tim McVeigh that killed 168 people and blew the front off the Alfred P. Murrah Federal Building in Oklahoma City, Oklahoma. That one. He commemorated that horrific event by declaring it to have been a false flag operation. A false flag operation is when a clandestine element of Nation A attacks the people or institutions of Nation A in a way that appears to be an action of Nation B in order to foment ill feelings toward Nation B among the citizenry and unenlightened leadership of Nation A as a prelude to war or some other punitive action against Nation B. He remarked that CNN blamed right-wing talk radio hosts, mentioning that seemingly bottomless source of hydrogen sulfide and mercaptan emissions, Rush Limbaugh by name, for fostering the mindset that led to McVeigh and Nichols arranging the bombing in the first place. I really can't see how that's an error. But Jones essentially said that McVeigh, who is now dead, and Nichols, who is serving a life sentence without the possibility of parole, were really liberal plotters trying to make conservatives look bad. Seriously, Alex? You don't need people like McVeigh and Nichols to make you look bad. You make Rush Limbaugh look sensible. You make Glenn Beck seem unfettered by superstition. You make Sarah Palin appear erudite. As nut bars go, you are a container load of expired movie theater-sized paydays. You're no better than the radical Muslim clerics frothing, "Death to America!" And you idiotically and unwittingly seek the same end. Either that or you're a Poe of unequaled brilliance. No, I'm pretty sure you're just a helium sinker. Conservative Christian pastor Robert Jeffress, sometime Fox News contributor, and I really don't know what he contributes other than to Fox News' reputation as a place where the lunatics run the asylum. Anyway, Jeffress, Jeffress, Jeffress. You think he got picked on in school? Grew up in Texas. I'll bet he's got a homophobic axe to grind. Jeffress recently told that prototype of quiet dignity and grace, Bill O'Reilly, that the pending Supreme Court ruling on gay marriage, if the court comes back in favor, would make it, quote, open season on Christians and those who believe in traditional marriage. Once you make gay marriage a civil right, then anyone who opposes it is guilty of a civil rights violation." End quote. No? You can oppose anything you want. You can oppose interracial marriage and abortion and voting rights for minorities and women and the freedom to deny the existence of a God and all kinds of other things. Just like I can oppose ownership of automatic firearms by ordinary civilians. Opposing something doesn't make you guilty of a civil rights violation. Taking violent action against a protected class or their constitutionally protected rights, or inciting others to do so, that makes you guilty of a civil rights violation. No, opposing marriage equality doesn't make you a civil rights violator. It just reveals you as a hateful, bigoted asshole. And the wackaloon hits just keep on coming. Former U.S. Representative from Minnesota, Michelle Bachmann, recently discussed the impending last days and the fact, and I use that in the Fox News sense, that the Obama presidency will bring about economic and natural disasters and the last days. Then she said, quote, "That's why so many Christians, I think, are sad and despairing, because we know what the Word of God says. But it is also a chastening as individual believers for our good, and that, to me, is extremely exciting." End quote. That use of language makes my toes curl. Well, what do you want from someone whose JD comes from Oral Roberts University? And one more here, real quick. I know you have to use the bathroom, just bear with me. Louisiana, of all places, has decided to get in on the Religious Freedom Restoration Act, so to speak. House Bill 707 basically says that the government of Louisiana has no basis for punishing you for not treating gays like human beings as long as you declare that your action, or inaction as the case may be, is in response to your sincerely held religious convictions. And it explicitly states that Louisiana will only recognize one-man, one-woman couples as married, irrespective of where they were married. Nice how you snuck that under the gaydar. IBM, which is expanding its operations in the state, sent a worded letter to Louisiana Governor good old boy Bobby Jindal indicating that, quote, "A bill that legally protects discrimination based on same-sex marriage status will create a hostile environment for our current and prospective employees, and is antithetical to our company's values. IBM will find it much harder to attract talent to Louisiana if this bill is passed and enacted into law." End quote. What a stinging riposte! Down goes Jindal! Down goes Jindal! Hey gang, it's time for celebrity birthdays once again. Let's rock. For the 25th, Wolfgang Pauli, dead. For the 26th, Vic Perrin, dead. For the 27th, Cory Booker. The 28th, Bruno Kirby, dead. For the 29th, Kate Mulgrew. For the 30th, Perry King. And for the 1st of May, Judy Collins. There ought to be clowns. That's Celebrity Birthdays. I'm Paul Torville, and I'm done. The snozberries taste like snozberries. Up next, Baltimore. Baltimore. And how to tell if you're committed, or should be. Hi, I'm Paul Torville. You may know me from such popular web shows as Bible Answers. If you have some time, anything you can do to grow awareness and interest in NewsUndies would be appreciated. Thank you. Adam Sandler. The city of Baltimore, Maryland, has officially screwed the pooch. The death in police custody last week of 25-year-old Baltimore resident Freddie Gray has lit off a literal firestorm of violence in the city. Gray, in case you've been in a coma yourself, was arrested on April 12th because he moved away from police unprovoked. Now, I may be an imbecile, I freely admit it, but what are you to do? I mean, if you're in a high crime area, the police are already suspicious of everyone. If you approach the police officers, isn't that going to arouse suspicion? And if you retreat from the police officers, that arouses suspicion. So, what? You have to steer a tangential course, maintaining a minimum distance and not making eye contact? Or perhaps you should make eye contact and nod, tugging at the brim of your Stetson as you saunter past on horseback. What a fucking embarrassment this is. I mean, first of all, the police chase this guy down because random bullshit. That's bad. Then, mysteriously, he's seriously injured in the back of a police van. Nobody knows, or more accurately, no one is saying how. That's bad. Geraldo Rivera on Fox News put forward a hypothesis that Gray had a muscular seizure, and maybe that broke 3 vertebrae in his neck and mostly severed his spinal cord. Yeah. Police have admitted that Gray was not seatbelted in the back of the van, which is wrong. Then the police failed to get him medical attention for his serious and mysterious injury that he would not have had he not been pursued and arrested for retreating from police. Well, that's fucked up. Then he slipped into a coma and died. So that's a big flaming bag of dog shit on America's front doorstep. Thanks, Baltimore PD. Then, after an autopsy, the family buries this poor guy. Immediately, protest, then riot. Now, I'm not going to pretend to know what it's like to be an African-American man at all, let alone in a city like Baltimore. And I'm not so idealistic and naive as to think that violence is never the answer. But just burning shit down? Burning innocent bystanders shit down? Dude, take a second. Breathe. If you have to fight, the first thing you need to do is figure out who your enemy is. Clearly, that has not happened. The second thing you have to do is figure out what you can do that will neutralize the threat your enemy poses to you without bringing harm to yourself. Again, that hasn't happened. So instead, random lashing out and burning shit down. I'm pretty sure that CVS had nothing to do with Gray's death. I'm fairly certain that the community center didn't throw him around in the back of the police van and break his neck. Sure, you could argue that by not putting pressure on the BPD to clean up their act, everyone is complicit by way of silence. But does the Baltimore PD have a long and storied history of corruption, excessive force, brutality, and abuse of power? Oh, yes. Has Baltimore long been a hotbed of racial tension? Why, yes again. I understand that we all, as humans, are emotional creatures. I also understand that it's easy, really easy, to be angry or upset and see the dude next to you hurl a brick at your perceived enemy, and then you feel the urge to do the same. But you've got to understand something. And I know it's really hard to keep this in mind when tensions are really high and it's, us versus them. But take a second to think about this. The police in Baltimore and around the country are charged with preserving the peace and enforcing the laws. They are entrusted with that duty by the city, and they are authorized to use deadly force if necessary to do so. Yes, there have been abuses, and yes, it needs to stop. But what do you think is going to garner more sympathy for your cause? A cop beating you to the ground because you threw a brick at him? Or you and 1,000 of your friends peacefully but immovably blocking the entrance to the police station, or city hall, or the public works garage, or forming a human barricade down one of the main streets? And don't move. Have a standoff. Do not escalate. At all. Whether you're rioting or engaging in civil disobedience, you stand a chance of getting arrested. And while in police custody, they may mistreat you. Either way. But I'll tell you this. The cop still has pepper spray and a taser and a club and a sidearm. I would much rather get arrested by someone who is mildly annoyed but doesn't feel the need to escalate beyond handcuffs than just some angry, scared, jumpy, proby cop with his hand twitching over his Glock looking for an excuse. Fill up the holding cells. Clog up the courts. To win this, it's going to take public support. And that's going to mean that the public has to like you more than they like the cops. Which piece of video looping incessantly on CNN do you think is going to achieve that? You getting your skull caved in by some cop in front of a burning strip mall? Or you being led peacefully away from your compatriots into a waiting police van? With whom would you have more sympathy? Who do you think has the moral high ground in those two scenarios? Or you could get involved in government. I realize that takes time, but if you showed up at a protest and then participated in a riot, either you or someone you know is an engaging public speaker and knows how to get people together. Use that to real advantage and change the government from within. Or, if Baltimore sucks that bad, and it sounds like it might, fucking leave! What is so compelling that's keeping you in Baltimore? The Orioles? As we do from time to time, let's spend a little while with our resident cranky old man, Curmudgeon, in Curmudgeon's Corner. I used to like cheese. I could have cheese on a sandwich, or on spaghetti. There was cheese, only one kind, and it was expensive. Now there's hundreds of kinds of cheese, tons of it. What can I do? I can't possibly eat it all, can I? My doctor says I should eat less cheese. And how do you pick a cheese when there's more than just cheese? You can't even get blue cheese anymore. Back when I was a young reporter, you could get blue cheese. Now there's 70 different kinds of blue cheese, and most of them don't even have blue in the name. Maybe I should just give up on cheese and switch to something simple, like lettuce or meat. Or juice. Or coffee. The Baltimore Police Department is in a tight spot. The department's reputation has not been flattering for a long, long time. Some are calling for the U.S. Justice Department to come in and reform the city's police department under a consent decree. Is this a good idea? Here are Pig and Sheep with their thoughts. What the heck is a resent decree? One thing I know is that the government is the problem. Why would you want the government to come in and run the police? That's just stupid. It's hard to be sure from all the way out here, but it seems as though there's an entrenched culture of corruption in the Baltimore PD. Almost certainly not all the officers are untrustworthy, but it seems as though it would be very difficult to clean house effectively and foster a new culture with the remnants of the old culture polluting the minds and habits of the new recruits. That's what Pig and Sheep think. What are your thoughts? Email them to ovcomments@newsundies.com. And now for the week ending May 1st, here's Paul Torville with your exclusive Pastcast weather. Here's your exclusive Pastcast weather. The upper Midwest had showers, then turning warm. The Corn Belt, isolated showers and then turning warmer. And then Texas and Oklahoma, it was heavy thunderstorms, then sunny and cool. Now, when I think of cool, I don't think of Texas and Oklahoma. Maybe you do. Don't know. I'm Paul Torville, and that's your exclusive Pastcast weather. There's gold in them thar hills. Still to come, keeping millionaire athletes safe. Father John keeps it real. And let's see a little smoke.
Soot. You've been hearing a lot of not-so-nice things about soot. Mostly from tree-hugging, dirt-worshipping pansy liberals and people who think breathing is important. They will talk the ears off your head, droning on and on about wind and solar and renewable energy. What they don't tell you is that soot built America. Our modern post-industrial society owes everything to soot. If it wasn't for coal-fired power and diesel-powered transportation, America would grind to a halt. That's a fact. And as long as we have anything to say about it, and as long as there's profit to be made in government subsidies on soot, we're going to do everything we can to keep it that way. We're America's soot industry. Profitable, ugly, traditional, American.
And now, here's Moose Weintraub with a Sports Half Minute.
Moose Weintraub Sports Half Minute. It's a whole half minute of sports. 30 seconds of sports. Moose Weintraub Sports Half Minute.
This is your Sports Half Minute. I'm Moose Weintraub. The Baltimore Orioles played to an empty ballpark Wednesday night. Sounds like a lot of fun. I guess. Moose
Weintraub Sports Half Minute.
Thanks, Moose. Always a great report from Moose. Fox News contributor and Catholic priest, Father Jonathan Morris, argued over the weekend that atheists were not suitable candidates for the president because it was hard to trust someone who did not believe that God would punish them. He said, and this is priceless, quote, "One thing is very certain, you can't fake religion," end quote. Really? You're an idiot, John Morris. Oklahoma State Representative Kevin Calvi, guess which party? Come on. Yeah, Republican. I knew you could do it. Well, anyway, Kev was upset that a bill under consideration at the time would grant a 6% pay raise to state Supreme Court justices and other appellate court judges, which had decided some abortion-related cases in a way that he didn't like. He was really upset. I mean, whoa. He said he would go across the street, douse himself in gasoline, and light himself on fire. Oh, wait. He said, quote, "If I were not a Christian and didn't have a prohibition against suicide, I would walk across the street, douse myself in gasoline, and set myself on fire!" End quote. Well, isn't that convenient? If I weren't a Christian. So, as a Christian, you're committed to stopping the evil of abortion, but not that committed. Not so committed that you'd sacrifice your soul, your eternity in heaven, for the sake of those yet to be aborted fetuses. Good game, Kev. Sit down. And finally, and I do mean finally, we all saw this coming, didn't we? After nearly 6 months of the Republican-controlled Senate farting around with more attempts to repeal the Affordable Care Act and investigating Benghazi a frickin' again, they finally confirmed Loretta Lynch as the next U.S. Attorney General. After being sworn in by Vice President Joe Biden, she gave the standard Oscar night acceptance nods, then visited with the president and released a statement condemning the riots in Baltimore and human trafficking. And 1976 U.S. Olympic gold medalist, Wheaties box model, and former Mr. Kardashian, Bruce Jenner, sat down with Diane Sawyer for a frank discussion of his status as a transgender woman. He's 65 now, and reported in the interview that he first noticed something might be different at the age of 8 or 9. The unfortunate thing about the interview is that Diane Sawyer's tone seemed to be a combination of faint incredulity and poorly disguised ignorant surprise. Still, kudos to Jenner for putting the rumors to bed and coming out. Good luck. Well, that's all for this edition of News Undies. If you see news that shouldn't be news, you can submit your story tips online at newsundies.com or on Twitter with the hashtag NUSTip. News Undies is a weekly show. We'll be back on Friday, May 8th with fresh undies. If you like this video, please like this video. If you like the show, please spread the word. Got a question, comment, or suggestion? Leave it in the comments below. Don't forget to subscribe to us on YouTube, circle us on Google+, like us on Facebook, follow us on Twitter, ignore us on MySpace, tell your friends, and buy News Undies Kitsch at newsundies.com. Thanks for watching. For all of us here at News Undies, until next time, I'm Paul Torville. After that, I might be pimping for Steve Shives somewhere. Somehow. Because he needs the help. Doesn't he? I don't know. How the hell am I supposed to know? I just want to tell you good luck. We're all counting on you.